Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? Time for another Shogun update. So, as I mentioned before, the first book is split into two parts on Audible, and that's how I'm listening to it. I didn't grab the audiobook from the library. That one still has the full, 54-hour in one go audiobook. But since I'm parsing this one out slowly, it's better that I'm not trying to blitz all 54 hours in a 3 week span. That's how long the library lets you have it. And with how popular the book is, there's no chance that I would get it back for another go. So we're doing it this way. I mentioned this because I have finished the first half, and they picked a heck of a place to end it. I have been struggling through the last several chapters only because there were long slogs where honestly it got kind of boring. And there were long conversations between different power brokers in Japan, and I ended up going name blind on a couple of them. There's still the regular power players of Toranaga and Yabu. There's another guy named Ishido, and just given the fact that I'm listening to it at work every now and then, it's like, oh crap, what's this conversation? What are they talking about? What's going on? So, admittedly, there were pieces here and there that I lost track of the thread of the conversation. But the general gist of it is Blackthorn is still the rope in a tug of war between various interested parties and powers in Japan. But the major development on his front is that he has started to make moves and to maneuver between these different power brokers and start angling for things for himself. And he's got a plan to have allowances made by his Japanese captors to go back to England. And not only that, he's negotiating to give them new weapons, new tactics, newer ships, to have them build a navy, and to have him be the intermediary between here and there. Sorry, I'm pulling off to the side of the road here because there is a turtle in the asphalt and I am going to go save him. Whew, sorry about that. And we are back. That just earned me free plastic straws for life. I literally saved that turtle. Gets that time of year in Oklahoma where it's warm and the turtles start crossing the road. You got to look out. It's not like I'm trying to grab an opossum here. They are slow that I can grab them. Here we go. Anyway, back on track. What the hell was I even talking about? Blackthorn, Toranaga. He's making moves. He's starting to be proactive in freeing himself from captivity. But here's the big thing. Toranaga, if he's going to make this deal with Blackthorn, he wants to stop using Mariko as an intermediary. And so he's insisting that Blackthorn learn Japanese. Not just the culture, but the language. He wants to speak to him directly, man to man. And he's so dead set on this, pun intended, that he takes Blackthorn to an island with a village and drops him off and says, these people have 1 year to teach you Japanese. And if they fail, if I am not satisfied in 1 year, I'm going to come and I'm going to burn this whole village down and kill everybody in it. A little bit intense, right? This is an extension of the larger disparity between the Western culture and the Japanese culture of the time. And it's one more big thing that Blackthorn can't really wrap his head around. And in fact, he's got major problems with it. And he's very, very angry at this declaration. And like many other instances, Mariko is trying to explain to him, like, this is how we do it here. This is normal. We're all used to it. There are class distinctions. These are lower class people. They have a job to do. He goes, but how can you throw away life so cheaply? And once again, it's emphasized that not only is he a Westerner, but he is a Christian. And life is one of the highest values that they have, whereas the higher value in Japan is honor. On top of that, you also get a sense that because of the geography of Japan, and how little of their land is arable and can even be planted on or built on, resources are scarce on that front. And so this has given birth to a culture of aggressive practicality. And that's why if you fail at something, there are far fewer chances for a redo. They have to emphasize honor, performance, production, all of that. And if you buck the system, then you are a hazard, you are a problem, you are useless, and you will be replaced. It's a lot for a man to process, a man who also comes from what is effectively an island nation, but Britain is far more arable and producible than Japan. And on top of that, between the Japanese Bushido warrior ethic and the Western Christian charity ethic, it's just a gap that can't really be closed. They can't occupy the same social space at the same time. Further complicating matters is Blackthorn's growing feelings for Mariko. She's married, and she explains to him that a man in Japan, a married man, can have many consorts, but a married woman, if she's even found speaking to another man who is not her husband in a closed room, that is grounds for the husband to not just divorce her, but execute her. And Blackthorn keeps meeting a lot of different, like 19-year-old widows, women who were married off young and lost a husband early to something or another, or were banished, or what have you. It's very hard for him to grasp. And on top of that, there's no chance that, he's also married. He's got a wife and son back in England. And so the Christian demand for monogamy and marital fidelity is also weighing on his mind, but he can't ignore the stirrings that he's having towards Mariko, who is effectively the only Japanese woman that he can really communicate with, and this is causing problems. As I've said before, I'm flashing back to things that I saw in the miniseries, not movie, but miniseries when I was 17, and I do remember things kind of coming to a tipping point when they're on this island nation, whatever it is, this village where he's supposed to be in exile learning Japanese for a year. And they have no real mores against social nudity. They bathe together. It's not uncommon for that. And so one night when he's in the hot tub relaxing after a long day, Mariko also comes in and joins him. And he's at this point already seen her in her birthday suit before. But this is just kind of the straw on the camel's back. It's a bridge too far. He's thinking about her that night, and then while he's in his room, a woman comes into his room. We're 99% sure that it's Tora Mariko, and jumps into his bed, and they do the hibbity-dibbity. And that scene was where the first half of the audiobook ended off. I do remember in the miniseries later, he tries to talk to her about it the next day, and she insists that it was just a servant of hers that she had sent into him. Now I can't remember if he finds out later that it literally was her or what, if this feeling is reciprocated, or if she's got no qualms about going behind her husband's back or whatever. But this is obviously a big emotional tension point, especially because, in addition to all of this, Blackthorn is starting to have a bit of a friendship with Toranaga, even though all of their communication has to come through Mariko. He's starting to understand the man a little bit better, especially if they've spent a great deal of time in close proximity. Toranaga is making moves to become the supreme leader of Japan. He's making alliances. And as I've said before, Blackthorn is a key component of that plan. There was a really kind of like almost heartwarming like brotherhood scene where they were stopping during one of their voyages in between islands on Toranaga's ship to do some swimming, because Toranaga likes to swim and all the other men were swimming and just doing it in their own way. Blackthorn, obviously being a sailor, is an experienced swimmer, and he starts diving off of Toranaga's ship. And Toranaga is like, wow, what is this English way of swimming? And they don't dive there, apparently. And so Blackthorn spends the whole day teaching them all how to dive. And of course, Toranaga's first one goes poorly, and he belly flops, and it's bad. But even though Blackthorn's like, well, let's hold off and do more later, and Toranaga's like, no, later is later. Let's do this now. We are here now. Let me do this until I learn how to do it. There's a doggedness, a stick-to-itiveness to him that's inspiring and enjoyable. It's one of those things that, like, this is a quality that I like reading in classical literature, when all of the characters, even the ones that are antagonists, your main character, can demonstrate a virtue or a quality that is good and admirable. So anyway, like I said, this part of the book ended at a key emotional high point, a very tense moment, because he's finally giving into this temptation that's been eating at him throughout the whole book, which this is a quality that I do not find admirable in Blackthorn. You guys know how I feel about marital fidelity. Get married, stay faithful. What's rule number 2? Don't be a whore. There you go. But I'm trying to remember how this whole bit plays out according to the mini-series, but I'll just have to keep reading the book. But I think I'm through the worst of the slog portions of it, the slog chapters, which are really just like the things that everybody hates about Star Wars prequels, where it's just people sitting in a room talking about politics and diplomatic trade relations or whatever. The real stuff is what happens between the characters. So, like I said, that gets us through the first half of Shogun. Thanks everybody for watching. I've got a playlist put together of these now, so you can see the previous ones if you're just discovering this one. But till next time, drive safe. See you out there.